Hello, happy Wednesday, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Wednesday Weekly Nashville Live with the Burnett Group. As we come up on this wonderful 4th of July weekend that's ahead of us, that doesn't mean, though, that real estate stops or that people aren't maybe in the middle of transactions, still getting ready to prep their home and still make that summer move that could be taking place this year. So we're here to talk about that today and what's changed in the market since the first of the year. Matt and Marty, always great to see you.
Hey, Amy, good to see you. Hey, yeah, happy 4th of July. It's coming up quick.
Yes, happy 4th coming up. But I know in the real estate, that just means you're even busier and it gives you more days that weekend to be working with clients, seeing properties, prepping properties. This is a busy season, especially there in Nashville. Share with us what's taking place right now with the markets and what we were talking about maybe, last quarter.
Well, lots of people are on vacation right now, but there's still plenty of work going on. Everybody's looking and kids are out of school. So they're looking at houses, looking at land. A lot of people have been selling their investments, cashing those out, and looking at 1031 into other investments of some sort. So it's still extremely busy all the way around.
Yeah, the market is staying really busy, and people are still moving and shaking and doing things. We just went to a conference for EXP in Orlando, and there was a lot of talk about markets there. I was blessed enough, to have a couple of roundtables with some people in different parts of the country. I've also been on several panels with EXP over the last month or so, and there's definitely some changes maybe happening across the country, slight. Nothing massive. I know we've seen a lot of talk about interest rates and those fluctuating a little bit. That doesn't seem to really be doing a whole lot of changes here in the Nashville area. But I am hearing that in other parts of the country, they're having, some adjustments. Nothing really, a slowdown would be a really too aggressive of a term to use, because that's really not what's happening. Maybe just a stabilization, or maybe we've hit a ceiling on pricing. I think you have to be really strategic with your pricing right now.
Interesting.
Lots of talk about strategy, different things like that. So
what are some misconceptions? Because it's easy for misconceptions or people to be like, no, this is what's happening without having information. What are some of the things you're hearing out there, even in the different markets, but especially Nashville, that are misconceptions? And what are some of the absolute truths that you're seeing at this point?
I think some of the misconceptions are just, it's a bubble, it's going to burst, it's going to crash. I mean, this whole panic mode because they raised interest rates a bit. We still have historically low interest rates. I mean, we haven't hit 15, 16% or anything, so we still have historically low interest rates. So I think there's a lot of drama in that. And that's just with anything that they could put on the news or social media. Let's see if we can get everybody all wrecked out and tore up. We're not seeing much effect from that. What I'm seeing more of an effect from is just the pricing. We've had a whole lot of appreciation in Nashville and around the country overall. But if you look back historically, we went through a recession. The prices went the opposite direction. So instead of maybe your normal 3% to 5% appreciation each year, we were depreciating, So I think people—
a lot of catching up that we had to do.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what people don't understand, is that there's no way we can keep up. These prices have just escalated so fast. But we're coming back from where they were going the opposite direction. So we not only lost the 3 to 5% that they should appreciate each year, but they were going the other direction. So there was a whole lot of catch up to do. So I think there were a couple of years in there where it was slowly coming back. And then there were a few years where it looked like it was a big boomerang effect and it just shot in the other direction. But I think if you go back and look at all the numbers, we're not crazy off from where we would have been if things had just stayed steady. So I think what's happening now is we are starting to stabilize a bit. And I think that's a great thing.
Isn't this positive for our buyers? That we're maybe losing hope. Because we spoke a lot on this about, buyers, don't give up. Keep trying. Your offer will get accepted. How do you see that this is going to help change that narrative of what you can encourage buyers right now?
Yeah, the buyer strategies we've been using are still in play. We're still getting multiple offers. Sellers still aren't given a whole lot. But I can remember in a buyer's market where the buyer would, take the firstborn child if they could get it, because they were in control. So I think what we're coming back to is a more fair negotiation field. The whole idea of sellers paying buyers closing costs and all these fees for sellers. I mean, that wasn't really fair for the sellers back then, you know?
Right.
So I think we're just coming to a place where maybe instead of 20 offers, we're getting 10, or instead of 10, we're getting 5. There's still some healthy competition going on out there, but it is where you can get your buyers offers accepted, I think, quicker, just because there's not as many offers. And I don't know, maybe this thing is good that there's some bad news floating around, even though it's not true. Maybe some of the investors are backing off. I'm not seeing as many
that's helpful
investors right now, and that's a
not
great
that we
thing.
don't love our investors, but that's helpful for our homeowners.
We love our investors, but it is also good for our home buyers to be able to come in and pick up some of these houses. So I'm not seeing massive changes. I just think that a lot of people getting into the real estate industry, a lot of people want to sell real estate right now. They think it's the hot market, the hot thing to do. And that happens every time we have a boom.
Right.
But they're not as versed in what's happening. And not as seasoned in knowing how to price houses. So there's strategies there that we're having to use to price these houses. And you can really mess a seller up by having them priced too high in this market now. And I'm seeing some reductions come. And it's not because there's anything wrong with the house. It's not because there's anything wrong with the market. So they were ill-advised, I think. And so I think pricing too high, unless that's your game plan and you're comfortable with a reduction, you know, and we're seeing some. But I don't think it has anything to do with the market. I think it is more of just pressing it too far. That's
why I love that we bring, you know, really just kind of the bare bottom truth here of what's really taking place. You guys are out there doing this every day. You eat, sleep, and breathe it. And we also bring in Anna Cook, our regular, you know, lending expert, talking about those interest rates. This is still, like you said, historically low. Plus, we discussed the products available for people with down payment assistance and, you know, maybe using a 3% down payment that buying right now. This is still great news. It's an incredible time. And I think I'm enjoying seeing what's taking place right now. I don't know if I'm speaking for both of you, but hopefully this is helping what you're able to do really to help the buyer and seller with a greater impact.
It is. A more stabilized market is a good thing for both, I think.
Yeah, I think it's good for the buyer. I think it's good for the sellers. I mean, you know, when it gets real crazy, sellers feel pushed. They feel stressed.
Yes.
And it just happened to one of our sellers. They saw an offer come in way over list, all these big promises in it. And, you know, I looked at it and I told him, this is by far the best offer. It looks very unrealistic to me. But there's enough there to grab onto that it's worth a run if you want to do it. Just know that I told you now, this may or may not close, but if you want to go down this avenue, let's try it. And everything went really well until the end. And the buyer was out of state. No offense.
Cold
Came in with all these big promises and then decided they just changed their mind.
Right.
And they started trying to jerk around and get out of the deal. And we ultimately resold the property. We had a backup offer, no problem. But,
good.
You know, we're seeing some of that. You know, people coming in and locking up multiple properties and then, you know, finding outs and things like that. So you have to be real careful as a seller. I just had a property we put on the market yesterday. Showings, offer came in, you know, whatever. Offers start coming in. And, you know, there's something to be said for the person that wants to buy the property, that lives here, that is here, that physically was in there, was excited about it. My clients love the idea of working with that person. And so I think, you know, we're ultimately going to lock in with that one and not do the whole highest and best and, you know, 500 offer thing. I think we're just, you know, so there are these opportunities are still out there. You just have to be, educating. You have to know what's happening. Now we did get an offer in the other day. God love that little buyer, asking for closing costs to be paid, all their closing, all this, all that. And we were just like, nope, sorry. And they came back and we put together a fair deal, you know.
Right. Well, you know, you mentioned something that's really important when you said we're still doing the same thing with our buyers and sellers that we always do. It's what I love about both of you. There's consistency. And with that, that means still the same marketing and strategies that you guys do when it's just a frenzied market versus when it's a little bit slower. Where do you see that some people may want to cut back or say, well, no, I don't want to do home staging, or no, I don't want to, you know, pretty up the front yard? What advice do you still have that regardless of what side of the fence the market is on right now, that your marketing strategies are tried and true and that you don't cut corners?
Yeah, well, regardless, if you're the seller, we got to make it look as good as we possibly can. You know, and that's the bottom line.
Well, yeah, I mean,
to attract as many buyers as we can.
You can sell anything at any time. but not at just any price.
Right.
And that's the thing. I mean, right now things are bringing big bucks. So we're like, oh, you don't have to do professional photography. Yeah, you don't have to do this. Oh, you don't have to do that. Well, you know, right now that we're getting, you know, 10 buyers instead of 20, it's even more relevant. But we've been doing it the same way the whole time. I'm telling people,
Yes.
regardless of the market, if your house looks better than everybody else's, is more well prepared than everybody else's, it's going to bring more than everybody else's if it's marketed appropriately. And that has been true for us no matter what the market is. Now, when you get into a buyer's market, maybe people feel like that's a little bit more prevalent to even get it sold versus not getting sold. But you can sell everything. It just, there's a price, you know. And so it depends on what you want. Our goal is to max out profits no matter whether we're in a buyer market, seller market, you know, balanced market. But our houses are still bringing more than everybody else's, and the people that listen to us and do all the things, it's an easier sale, it's a quicker sale, and for much higher profits. So I just think it's important regardless. But you do see something like, oh, in this market we don't need to do that. You don't,
right?
You don't if you don't want the extra money. But you know, I kind of
right, and that's
want that extra 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever that looks like.
That's why I might be biased, because I know firsthand that you guys really are the best of the best out there. I mean, across the country, but especially, you know, in the areas that you serve there in the greater Nashville area, and also in Florida as well. But when interviewing a real estate professional, you really want to work with a team or an individual that has this understanding and awareness of where not to cut corners and why this is important. And so I love that you guys bring up these kind of concepts and understandings about marketing and the entire start to finish process of the home sale or of the purchase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
There's lots of things that go into it. And, you know, those things don't change from market to market, but your strategies might. And right now, our strategies are staying pretty consistent. I don't anticipate that we're going to see a massive change in our market. I think we'll see some stabilization. And I think you might see some more price reductions if people keep pressing the envelope. But around the country, they're seeing some different things. So, you know, who knows? We'll have to watch it wait out. I left my crystal ball at home, but I was
just about to say, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but you took the words right out of my mouth. But if you're advising clients right now for the rest of the summer into the fall season and, you know, Q4, what kind of advice are you giving right now as far as how to prepare? Should they sell now, wait until the fall? You know, obviously if they need to be in a certain school district, what are some of the guidelines that you're giving at this point?
I mean, I think it's the same as we as we always do. I go in and I talk with the sellers and buyers about what their needs are. What are their timelines? Again, it just comes back.
End goal. Yeah.
Planning, knowing where you want to go, knowing where you are, and then we figure out the best way to get there. Moving is stressful. And I say this all the time. Moving is stressful. Our job is to make it minimally stressful. You're going to hit speed bumps. You're going to hit, you know, detours and things of that nature. And I think just being prepared for those, and the more prepared you can be on the front end, the easier the process is going to be. And when one of those speed bumps or things pop up, you know, we can deal with it and move right along. So I think it really is planning. It's a big move. Moving is a big deal. So I think taking the time to sit down and go through all the process steps is wildly important. And just planning it out and making sure. We just did this with another couple. You know, they're moving out of state. They've got a little bit of time. Husband was really wanting to slow walk it. Wife has a personality like mine. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. And, you know, we sat down and talked it out and, you know, mapped it out so that they were both comfortable, and it's not going to stress him out completely. It's going to move at a pace that keeps her super busy. And the end result is that the house will sell for the max amount of money and they'll get moved out of state and everybody's happy. So, you know, I think it's just, again, planning.
Exactly. And that's why you speak to the professionals. I can't emphasize it enough. If you have any questions, reach out to Matt and Marty directly. Their number is right here. They will help you plan. Even if you say you're not moving for a year, they are the first ones to jump in and said, let's make the best plan for you. Get the right information. Don't listen to misconceptions and the wrong information out there. And check us out every Wednesday. We're right here giving incredible information, bringing in guests and talking about everything that you need to know for your home buying, selling, and understanding what's taking place in the market. We'll see everyone again next week. Thank you, Matt and Marty.
Thanks,
Amy. See ya. Thanks.